This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland. Watch it now on Prime Video.
Attention Ditto Heads. Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host at 77 WABC here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's Bo Snerdley.
Welcome, my friends. It is Friday already. They were just having a conference in the control room. All the big cheeses are in there trying to do something big. I don't know what. Welcome to the Friday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. If you would like to be part of the program this afternoon, 800-848-9222 is the number to give us a call, 800-848-9222. I would love to catch up with you, see what you think about all of the events going on in the world today, and there are many, of course. I understand that President Trump is winging his way out of Washington, D.C., expected to be in the Florida White House later today. One would hope, one thinks. Let's see. Donald Trump campaign promises Trump actions, et cetera, et cetera. And this is live updates from the Democracy Dies in Darkness newspaper, The Washington Post. Trump administration moves to formally abolish USAID in action Congress has not yet authorized. Oh, no. A letter sent to employees at USAID today informed them that most of their positions are going to be eliminated in coming months through the reduction in force. We don't need that many people here. Some functions of the agency which administers foreign aid will be transferred over to the State Department. That makes sense. Since it's foreign aid, why wasn't the aid coming from the State Department in the first place? I'll tell you why. It's a good reason, because that way there would be a constant money operation outside of the purview of the State Department. That's why. Anyway, the move is expected to draw lawsuits if the administration acts without congressional approval. Well, let's get congressional approval. Simple. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance, his wife, Usha Vance, are visiting Greenland today, following repeated suggestions by President Donald Trump that the United States should somehow take control of the semi-autonomous territory of Greenmark. So you got Greenmark. What's Greenmark without Canada? Here's Canada news. President Donald Trump said in the Oval Office today that the United States of America will respond to incoming retaliatory tariffs recently announced by Canada with large-scale import taxes of its own. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney and Trump spoke on the phone earlier today. And in a statement describing the call, the Canadian government said that the Prime Minister will implement retaliatory tariffs to protect Canadian workers and our economy following the announcement of additional U.S. trade actions on April 2nd. That's when, I guess, the auto tariffs go in. When a reporter asked Trump whether he would follow through with the promise of exacting large-scale tariffs in response to Canada's retaliatory tariffs, the president said, well, absolutely. So this is going to be a tit for tat for tit for more tit for more tat. Yes. Trump, meanwhile, told reporters he had a good conversation with the Prime Minister, adding, I think things are going to work out very well between Canada and the United States. I wonder if the Canadians think that. In fact, we have remarks made by the new Prime Minister up there, up north, the Canuck Prime Minister, Mark Carney. That would be cut 12. We have remarks Donald Trump says the call went quite well. This is what the Canadian Prime Minister had to say.
Our biggest challenge as a country is becoming the most urgent. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we must fundamentally reimagine our economy. We will need to ensure that Canada can succeed in a drastically different world.
Ooh.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work. It will take steady and focused determination from governments, from businesses, from labor, from Canadians. We will need to dramatically reduce our reliance on the United States. We will need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere. And we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations. But we can make ourselves more productive and therefore more competitive. We can break down internal trade barriers. We can build a stronger and more resilient economy. And that's what I'm squarely focused on as your Prime Minister.
It doesn't sound to me like that was such a good call after all. At least the relationship that we had, it sounds like a breakup call to me. It sounds like, we're going to go date other people. Doesn't it sound like that? I mean, am I mistaken here? Donald Trump says,
The words sound happy, but not his voice.
The words don't even sound happy to me. He's like, it's time for us to go date somebody else. The deepening relationship that we had with the United States, it's over. It's done. We're done. It's over. Now we have to pivot. We have to go date other people. We have to build our trade relationship with somebody else. We need new suitors.
I thought it sounded like he was sadly going to give in.
It didn't sound like he was sadly. It sounds to me like he's realizing that there is no giving in. I don't know. Difference of opinion there. What do you think, folks? Sounds like a breakup call to me. Our special relationship. We loved each other. It was good. But now it's run the course of time. Now we need to date somebody else. The United States is not they're not going to protect us anymore militarily. They're not going to keep being our suckers. They're not going to keep being our friends. We have to go date somebody else. We have to go get money and trade from somebody else. That's, I don't know. Sounded like a breakup call to me. Anyway, Brett Baer, moving to matters domestically. Brett Baer had the Doge guys on. There was a bunch of them lined up in a little panel, and they were all answering questions. Now, I'm only going to play a few of these. Tomorrow, God willing, we're here for the Saturday morning show. We'll have a few more because there were a lot of cuts that came out of this thing. And I don't want to just spend all day doing Doge cuts because we have other stuff to do, like Marco Rubio. We already did, so to speak, the breakup call with Canada. And then we got some immigration stuff. We have Scott Jennings in the batter's box, if we can get to him, taking on the whole panel on CNN and demolishing them all. We got Ilhan Omar. We played USA. We talked about USAID, and I didn't even play Ilhan Omar. So we should do that now. That's cut one. There was a news report out of Minnesota that I found curious for a number of reasons, and it's all on this USAID. Again, Donald Trump today, we led the story. Donald Trump today, they sent a letter from the Trump administration telling the folks over at USAID, almost all your jobs are going to be gone. Lawsuits are expected if Congress doesn't do this. It was just, but CBS Minnesota, the local CBS station in Minnesota, interviewed Ilhan Omar, and then they did a report. Yes, and so this is CBS Minnesota.
The effort to dismantle USAID are deeply personal to me. I know the work that they do to help refugees because they've helped me and my family when we were in a refugee camp. Their work represents the best of America abroad, and it is truly a beacon of hope for so many people around the world.
Representative Omar spoke about the effects of the Trump administration's attempt to dismantle the agency, mentioning refugees losing access to food, shelter, and vaccines. Omar went on to mention Minnesota-based organizations that get funding from USAID and how losing that funding could harm those benefiting from their work. At Friday's press conference, Representative Omar was joined by local organizations which are directly impacted by the attempt to dismantle USAID.
So you see how the money spread out. Local Minnesota NGOs get some of that money and they help. I guess you can have a company anywhere that wants to do good and distributes money, but I'm just curious why, as I said at the beginning of the show, why isn't all of this flowing from the State Department in the first place? State Department is where you're supposed to find foreign aid and foreign policy. And just because USAID is going to be shuttering, they are going to be transferring some of the duties over to the State Department and to others. So what's the problem? Well, let us do this. Let us take a break so we have some time, because I'd like to begin with the Doge interview with Brett Baer. There were some gems out of that one. All right, this is Stevie Wonder. Those of you that into the deep cuts of Stevie, know all the albums, know that this is from the Talking Book album. Early 70s. One of his big albums, Grammys. I think he won 4 Grammys for this album. Well, on this day in 21, British jazz bassist, record producer Malcolm Cecil passed away. Huh? Why did he play Stevie? Because it was Malcolm Cecil and Robert Margouleff who helped produce this album and Stevie's groundbreaking albums in the 70s. That team, great production team. Again, Malcolm Cecil, himself a jazz bassist, but a record producer. Well known inside the music industry. Co-produced this album, the Talking Book album. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Keep it right here. Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Bo Snerdley
on 77 WABC.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Heavenly birthday today for Mylan Williams, keyboardist, brass, guitarist with the Commodores. So many hits with the Commodores, including this one, 3 Times a Lady, Easy, Night Shift, Zoom, Just to Be Close to You, Still. I mean, it just goes on and on with the Commodores. Passed away in 2006. He was a young man, 58 years old, but the music, of course, stays with us. Mylan Williams, heavenly birthday today with the Commodores. James Golden, Snerdley here with you. Okay, let's get started on some of the Doge interview with Brett Baer last night. This blew my mind. Let's go with cut 5. This simply blew my mind.
And it is alarming how the financial operations and financial management is set up today. There is actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Time out. One bank account.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account. So when you hear, some of my colleagues here, what they're talking about in terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury, up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there was an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account, because it really is the taxpayers' money. One, we're changing the culture. The culture is been not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right relative to financial operations. There's $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billions of dollars of improper payments, and we can't pass an audit. The consolidated financial report is produced by Treasury, and we cannot pass it on. We have material weaknesses. What that means is that if I was a public company CFO, I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities, which of course we depend on. Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass an audit. It's impossible. In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment codes, you need to have the payment explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory until just recently, just a few weeks ago. In fact, maybe last week?
Yeah. We're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment, and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do. But imagine you're a household, you have a bank account, everyone has an ATM card connected to that account, everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children, it's not just your parents, it's your in-laws, it's your extended family, and they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked, no justification, no verification.
This is unbelievable. The United States government could not pass an audit, yet you ask anybody in corporate world what they do to you if you're running a business and you can't pass an audit. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. It is Friday's Rush Hour. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. Looking forward to, especially you business owners, I would love to hear what you think about this. One humongous bank account with $800 billion in it and no checks on how the money is being spent or just thrown out the door. Keep it right here, whatever you do, and do not go away.
It's the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush. Now here's Bo Snerdley.
Blondie. From 1981. Top of the charts. Number one. Their fourth. Number one hit. The first song in the U.S. featuring a rap at some point in the song. Now that went to number one across in the U.S. charts, not just the R&B charts. Rapture. Blondie. James Golden, Snerdley with you here Friday. It's Rush Hour. On the road, drive safely. Okay, we started talking through and going through some of the Fox News interview that Brett Baer did last night with members of the Doge team. Before we rejoin it, let's turn to another network, shall we? That being CNBC. And the Squawk Box Show. They had an interview with Ro Khanna, Democrat Ro Khanna. He should be in the leadership, actually. Sometimes this guy will annoy the heck out of you. Other times he seems almost like an adult Democrat, and there are so few of them these days that are not just leading on Trump hate all the time as their main posture in public. But Ro Khanna tries to make a claim that Medicare and Social Security are both run efficiently. We don't have to play the whole thing. Let's listen in.
Yeah, those are, the same arguments that Democrats and Republicans have been having forever. But in fact, I just tweeted something out that said that fraud, waste, and abuse is probably the biggest bipartisan thing that we have. That it's not specific to what my policies are or what my politics are. If it's being levied by the federal government, it probably is inefficient because there's no reason for it not to be.
Well, there's certain things that are not inefficient. Medicare, the Social Security,
what?
Large parts of
Medicare's not inefficient. Come on, are you out of your mind? Medicare? And I'm not saying it's Medicare's fault necessarily. There are look around and look at the way Medicare is gamed out by the people that benefit from it, or Medicaid.
That's another. So you see, this is Democrat. Oh well, it's Social Security's Social Security's efficient. You already heard they've got people on the rolls that are older than the United States of America, and it's efficient. Ro Khanna says. But anyway, so now let's go back. You heard Social Security is efficient, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go back to the Doge interview that Bret Baier had, cut number 8, and let's rejoin it at this crucial moment.
I'll say the two improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day, and then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
Yeah. And Ro Khanna, Social Security is efficient. Yeah, so efficient. They're opening the door to, just change your bank account number on the phone. Like we are all unaware of how many calls do you get, ladies and gentlemen, on average, on your mobile device that are from scam numbers or somebody that you've never heard of trying to sell you something that, especially, remember the do not call registry? Yeah, right. Somebody should measure the effectiveness of that. But you listen to something, Social Security, efficient. It is not efficient. Nothing apparently is. Now, let's go to this. One of my favorite examples of the interview, dealing with the IRS. Yes, cut 6. The IRS. Folks, it's quick. This goes by quick, but to me, this is unbelievable.
You've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can re-provision.
Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to give out a laptop and a phone?
Right. The whole IRS could be handled once a month. So that doesn't make any sense.
Yes, I know. People, what? So at the IRS, ladies and gentlemen, 1,400 employees whose job description was, you're going to give away stuff. You're going to be Santa. You're going to give away cell phones and laptops to IRS employees. That's your sole job. They hired 1,400 people whose sole job it is to give other IRS employees a laptop and a cell phone. If, based on the number of employees they have working at the IRS, if one of those employees took 8 hours out of the day, a whole 8-hour shift, to just give away 2 laptops a day and 2 cell phones a day. If that were the case, they have enough employees handling that aspect of IRS business that the whole IRS would have a cell phone and a laptop, everybody employed in 1 month. Yet you've got people then that are being paid for 11 months out of the year with nothing to do, according to their job description.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may ask a question.
Wasn't there like a big ramp up of IRS employees under Biden?
Yes, there was.
So hypothetically speaking, is it possible that some of them are handing over parts of their salary to the Democratic Party?
So you want to know if it's possible that there are kickbacks going on. How dare you? How dare you suggest? How dare anyone suggest, ladies and gentlemen, that with all this money, one bank account that everybody has access to with no verifications on it, that's your federal treasury, couldn't even pass an audit? How dare you suggest that all these ramp-ups of employees, you got 1,400 people hired whose only job it is to give away laptops and cell phones, not enough people to give them to all after a month. How dare you suggest that somebody's playing fast and loose with the money? How dare you? Who would believe such a thing? Anyway, Fox News, Bret Baier continued. This is Elon speaking with Bret Baier, cut 7, and let's just pick it up in it's self-explanatory.
At least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, it's the D.C. Circuit is notorious for having a very far-left bias. And when you look at the people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs. Oh, they're the ones getting this money. Does that seem like a system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Last thing, do you guys all see this as a patriotic duty?
How dare he? How dare Elon Musk suggest just because these judges may have relatives, other people working at these NGOs that are getting this money that they are ruling on, that they keep making these. How dare anyone suggest that Democrats might have some kind of kickback, money laundering, scalp them if you're the taxpayer? No offense. No, didn't mean that as a slam against indigenous culture, that you might be scalping the taxpayers. How dare anyone suggest that on this program? That the Democrat Party, that the machinery that these people have put together for decades, where money just flows out of one open bank account with no verifications. How dare anybody suggest that people would take advantage of it and have ill-gotten gain when the taxpayers are funding it? How dare you, Elon Musk, for suggesting that? How dare anybody suggest that people close to judges, that judges would actually be biased because they have a financial interest in their own rulings? Who would believe that of a judge? Who, I ask you, would believe it? Okay. Let us turn our attention, my friends, away from that now. I'll have more, God willing, we're here tomorrow. We'll have more from that Doge interview. It was delightful. The Supreme Court has been asked to step in, ladies and gentlemen, over this argument that the administration's having over El Salvador deportations. The Trump administration asked the Supreme Court today to review a restraining order out of the D.C. Circuit In the filing, the lawyers for the Trump administration said the lower court's orders have rebuffed Trump's immigration agenda, including its ability to protect the nation against foreign terrorist organizations. And it risked debilitating effects for delicate foreign negotiations. The Court of Appeals ruled 2-1 Wednesday to uphold Boasberg's ruling that prohibits Donald Trump from behaving like he's the president and actually using the powers that vested in him with the injunctions to the Enemies Act law. Now, the Supreme Court, in the filing, U.S. Acting Solicitor General Sarah Harris said the lower court's rulings was flawed. They threaten the government-sensitive negotiations with foreign powers. They risk serious and perhaps irreparable harm if not immediately reviewed by the Supremes. And we shall see where this case goes. Now, one of the things, interestingly enough, in all of this argument, said when the 2-1 appeals court thing came down, the U.S. Circuit Court judges Karen Henderson, who was a Bushy appointee, and Patricia Millett, Obama, focused heavily on the concerns of due process violations as well as complaints of immediate and irreparable harm by the defendants. And allowing Trump to use the Alien Enemies Act in the near term risk exiling plaintiffs to a land that is not their country of origin. Says Henderson. Well, this isn't their country of origin either. But there you go. So much more. Let's quickly get to, you know that there's also this big to-do over the students. Border Patrol, there was a video of Border Patrol picking up one of these student protesters up in Massachusetts that went viral, and et cetera, et cetera. Marco Rubio said there's like 300 of them. The press clearly unhappy. Here's Marco Rubio very quickly on the students that, remember all that disruption to college campuses last year? They're cleaning it up. Here's Marco.
I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
You're saying it could be more than 300
sure,
visas?
I hope. At some point, I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them.
Marco Rubio, at some point I hope we run out because we've gotten rid of all of them. I love Marco Rubio in this job. He is. Okay. A birthday today for Reba McEntire. 35 number one singles. 25 albums. Sometimes referred to as the Queen of Country Music. Has sold over 70 million albums worldwide. Also, television star, as you know, Reba. Birthday today for Reba McEntire. Happy birthday, Reba. James Golden, Snerdley. Coming back, your calls. Don't go away.
Rush. This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Bo Snerdley.
On 77 WABC.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is the Rush Hour with Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
1986. When many of us were adults, Lady Gaga, Stefani Joanna Angelina Germanotta, was born. (2008) Just Dance 2008 Poker Face, number one in 20 countries. This one rocks. Lady Gaga, happy birthday.
James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
And we go to New Jersey to start with Julie. Good afternoon, Julie. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? I'm just commenting that I work in a low-income school district, and I've never seen so many students leaving on vacations outside of the country, girls who have $120 manicures with the gel, $300 pair of sneakers. It is unbelievable. And I'm one of these who, careful about how much you're spending, but going away on these water park weekends and trips with attendance, we had problems because so many kids were leaving.
Wait a minute. Wait. What you say? This is a low-income school district, you say?
Low-income school.
Let me ask you another question now. Let me ask you a question now. Where do you suppose they're getting all this money from?
I don't know. But it's amazing. It's
astounding.
Yeah, it is. So
that's astounding.
I've never gotten $120 jet, and I'm not talking about a few students. I'm talking a good amount, a good amount. So, second grade up, and they're getting gel fingernail manicures. So
good goodness. Julie, I'd like you to call back sometime. We need to discuss this in more depth when you have time. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate the call. Joe in Brooklyn, you are up next.
Hi, Bo. It's great to talk to you. I love you. Anyway, a quick point. In the U.S. federal court system, U.S. courts of appeal, which are superior to district courts, the decisions made by the U.S. Circuit Courts of Appeal are not binding on any other circuits. Those decisions can be used as persuasive arguments in cases in other circuits.
Joe, I hate to disappoint you, but Joe, these nationwide injunctions have halted things nationwide. They shouldn't, but they are, because these nationwide injunctions have sprung up like a bad disease, especially. So what it needs is congressional action to take care of that.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. Early time to go. Jacqueline, 20 seconds. I know you can do it.
Ilhan Omar. That's the reason alone that we should get rid of U.S. aid. Instead of her being grateful to this country, she has allegiance to Somalia.
Thank you. May God bless and appreciate. I appreciate you, Jacqueline. May God bless. My friends, each and every one of you, your families, your loved ones, love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be here with you. God willing, back in the morning at 7 a.m. Hope you're here too. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Greg Kelly here with an urgent retirement warning. President Trump's return is set to usher in a new golden age, but growing trade tensions and China's ruthless attack on the dollar have rattled the markets. That's why Warren Buffett just dumped $133 billion in stocks. And so too have Jeff Bezos, Larry Page, and even Jamie Dimon, CEO of the world's largest bank. That's why thousands of informed IRA and 401k savers are now shielding their savings with gold. And the experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you to do the exact same thing, especially now after Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert Kiyosaki warned of a coming market crash. So visit freegoldguide.com/Kelly or call 800-655-5186. You'll get a free gold guide on how to bulletproof your wealth with gold tax-free. Plus, see if you qualify for a free home safe and as much as $7,500 in free silver. Once again, that's freegoldguide.com/Kelly.